My mother. A needed resource of identification and intimacy that I incorporate as part of my own femaleness. The thing that is important here is the nature of this relationship. On my part, as the daughter, I'm called to trust and openness, where my mother is called to a nurturing source of love that is consistent. Clarity in my mother's love would then enable me to receive heartily from my same-sex parent. In turn, my emerging femaleness would then be defined by my mother, whose attributes I have inherited. An affirming open relationship with the same-sex parent is the single most important factor in integrating my own gender identity. So breaches in this relationship can block my lifeline of identification and intimacy, which in turn would obstruct my gender development and source of security. You see, my mother suffered from alcoholism, and before her death, a severe disease. So as a child, I received much neglect. Not saying this was intended, but her being in and out of the hospital I perceived as a threat. So I began making choices consciously and unconsciously myself to protect. Mother's love was unavailable and untrustworthy, which inspired this defense. So I began walling off mother in hopes to flee mistreatment, only to interpret mother's absence as deserved, resulting in my own self-contempt. As I detached from mother, my legitimate need for same-sex love was repressed, which left a deep hunger for same-sex nourishment. You see, fear and insecurity of a high intensity marked me and my mother's relationship. So women in my eyes became a symbol of conflict, and I began to reject my feminine characteristics, and fear, confusion, and insecurity began to mark me and my gender identity, so I had no confidence and clarity except in my own femininity, which made me vulnerable to the onset of homosexual desire and fantasy. And this deep need for same-sex love began expressing itself through my emerging sexuality. I began sexualizing with what was unfamiliar to me. Since I walled off mother, I seen females as other than me. And this perceived difference between me and them began to drive this same-sex attraction, and I began to crave completion through powerful romantic relation and communion with a woman. Because of me and my mother's disrupted bond, I began to ferociously long for mother love and feminine touch. But at the core was just a frustrated emotional need, which I thought would go away once I got a girlfriend and embraced lesbianism as my identity. But I'm telling you, I was deceived. There was still left a hole in me, but thanks be to God's mercy, through Jesus I've been redeemed. Now I give God permission to mold me, even if it means facing deep pain, fear, and need. You see, the Lord is healing wounds that I've received and giving me the holy love and nurturing that I so desperately need. I said the Lord is healing wounds that I've received, breaking off lies that I've believed, and giving me the holy love and nurturing that I so desperately need.